What is up, everyone? My name is Jon Dawson, and today I am going through your span charts for lumber. So basically, I'm a custom home builder as well as a amateur building science nerd, and I just want to explain some things that I've learned over the years building stuff. I'm not an engineer. I don't know all the bells and whistles, but I do know the basics to try and figure out what your span can be when using a piece of lumber. Now, keep in mind, each type of lumber is going to be different. If you're using yellow pine, Doug fir, redwood, cedar, or Owens Corning structural lumber, they're going to have their own charts as to what your span can be. So don't take the charts that I'm going to be showing you and say, oh, this is going to apply for everything. Each product's going to have a different span table. I'm going to go over Owens Corning lumber. I love Owens Corning. This structural lumber I've used on decks. I've even used it in some houses. I've used it for a bunch of different applications, if I'm being honest. And it is a rot-proof, rust-proof, ground contact, water contact, structural framing member that comes in all different types of dimensions, and frankly, you can't go wrong with it. So I'd highly recommend checking out Owens Corning lumber. But let's dive into some vocabulary before we get into this, okay? First thing, let's just go with live load. So LL stands for live load. That's how much weight is going to be placed on let's just go with a floor. Let's go with a deck. How much weight is going to be placed on a deck at any given time. So me walking across my deck, that's live load, right? My dog's running across the deck, that's live load. Dead load is the deck boards that are on top of that deck and potentially the deck railing that's on the deck, whatever else is on that deck, that's going to be dead load. Something that's there, that's always going to be there, the fasteners, whatever else is on there, that's going to be dead load. Dead load means you can't move it. It's just there. It's going to always be there. Live load is me walking through there. Live load is me setting a picnic table on there. Live load is whatever else gets put on or taken off at any given time. When you're doing roof framing, when I frame a roof, it's going to be dead load is going to be the shingles, the sheathing, or the decking, excuse me, whatever else is going up there. The live load is going to be snow load, right? The live load is going to be, anything if you're putting an air conditioning unit up there or whatever else. But still, that's going to be something that can be removed off there that might be swapped out, changed, walking on your roof, snow on your roof, whatever else. So live load means something that's moving. Dead load means something that's stationary and is most likely going to always be there. So here I'm looking at the Owens Corning joist table, and we see joist size. That's going to be typical dimensions. So here on the side here, we see there's 2x6, 2x8, 2x10, 2x12. The wider or the deeper your board is, so if it's 2x6 or 2x10 or 2x8, whatever it is, that's going to give you more rigid value, right? More structural, more rigidness. Let's just put it that way. And the skinnier that board is, the more shallow that board is, that's going to give you more deflection. It's going to be less rigid. So obviously, if you have a 2x4, you're not going to span as far as you would with a 2x6. And let me kind of draw this up for you guys real quick, just so you can kind of see what I mean by span. So for example, if I have a stem wall right here, or a load-bearing point, so whatever it is, wherever you're reaching to where you're trying to transfer your load, and then I need to span, oh, that's a terrible, I'm not an artist, guys, don't get mad at me, and I need to span across this. Let's say this is 10 feet. I don't know why that looks like a 6. Don't judge me. I need to figure out, okay, what can that be? What member can I use to span that? So when I'm looking at this, the joist size, and I'm looking at the L360, which is length divided by 360. So basically, if you were to find the deflection, you would be able to see that, 120 divided by, which 120 is 10 feet in inches, 120 divided by 360 is going to give you around 5/16. And I don't know that off the top of my head. I ran the math at some point. I just know that. And I'm going to be framing 16 inches on center. I can look through this span chart, and I can see for me to reach 10 feet, I'm framing 10 inches on or 16 inches on center. I'm going to be going with I'm going to probably have to go with my 2x12, 16 inches on center. That's going to give me 11 foot 8 inches span, right? So if I wanted to, I could scale down to 2x10s, but I would have to frame 12 inches on center, and you can see that right there. Same thing for 2x8s, 2x6s. I can't span 10 feet with 2x8s or 2x6s. So if I have to span 10 feet, I'm not going to be using 2x8s or 2x6s. I have to use 2x10s, 12 inches on center, or I'm going to be using 2x12s. I could even do 24 inches on center if I wanted to save a few boards, right? Because I can span 10 foot 2 inches. So if I was going to do that, I would probably go ahead and go 24 inches on center if the decking or whatever I was putting on top could span 24 inches. I would go 24 inches. That way I can get the maximum out of my lumber. But you can go 11, 8, you can span it 10, you'll be fine. It's better to go over than to go under, right? You want to make sure you're not bouncing around on whatever floor you're building. So this is live load. This is L360. This is allowable span for 40 pounds per square foot, PSF, 40 pounds per square foot live load. And then it's giving you 10 pounds per square foot dead load. And that's by the deflection limit. So that's the amount of deflection you can have. So here on this chart, you can see, I'll just draw an arrow. Deflection is when you press down. So if I have this pencil and I walk on this pencil, the amount that this pencil bows, the amount that it curves up on the ends, that's the deflection, is pushing that down. It's having those fibers are crunching and separating on the top versus the bottom, and that's what gives you deflection. So deflection is good. I love pier and beam for that very fact that it does give deflection. It's better for your joints. It's more comfortable to live on than concrete, say, because your body likes to have give. Your body is not really made to be on hard surfaces. That's why we put pad under carpet. That's why we put pad under some hardwood floors, right? Some laminate floors, is to give that cushion, to give that softness for a more comfortable, livable space. So these charts are going to give that. Now, the IRC, I think 301.7, R301.7 in the IRC kind of goes over what your International Residential Code requires. But here on the span chart, you can see that they also have allowable span for 60 pounds per square foot live load, 10 pounds per square foot deflection or a dead load. They have all those different numbers to run through, and it's pretty much the same thing. You want to span 10 feet. I see here that I can go 2x12, 16 inches on center. I can reach the 10 foot 2 inch mark, but if I go, let's see, I can't go any smaller than that. So this is giving you the ability to really go through what you need to span your whatever your spacing is. A lot of times I'll be, figuring out what type of lumber I need to buy. It's like, okay, I need to span 10 feet. What lumber do I need? Okay, I need 2x10s, or excuse me, 2x12s. Or I might have some 2x6s laying around. I'm like, I want to frame something up with these 2x6s, and it's Owens Corning. What is my span? So if I'm like, okay, I have 2x6s, the most I can span 16 inches on center is 5'10". So now I know not to span them over 5'10" inches. So depending on how you're coming at it, if you have lumber laying around and it's Doug fir, it's Owens Corning, it's yellow pine, you can look up yellow pine maximum deflection charts, and you can see what that L360 is, which can tell you how far you can span. It's quite simple once you understand it. This is kind of the best way I can explain it. When you get to the TL, that's total load. So that's going to be the combination of all load. I'm not going to get into that in this video because we could be here for hours getting into the calculations of finding your total load. And I'm not prepared to do that for you guys right now because I might misspeak. But total load is different than live load. Most of the time, you're going to be fine with going with that L360, and that's finding out what your deflection, your maximum deflection limit can be with, in this case, 40 pounds per square foot or 60 pounds per square foot. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. You can find me at Jon_Dawson on Instagram. It's very simple once you dive into it. It's difficult to apply this to just the air. If you have a specific situation like, oh, I need to span 10 feet, or I have 2x6s that I'm trying to build a deck with, or I'm trying to build a floor with, then you can be like, okay, so my building's 20 feet, right? And I want to frame it with 2x6s. How many supports do you have to have in between that 20-foot span to make sure that your 2x6s are going to give you that L360? Or you're like, hey, I want to frame a 20-foot wide structure, and I want to use, or I don't want to have to span, I don't want to have to put load-bearing points anywhere closer than 8 feet, right? Or let's say 10 feet. So you just want to have two stem walls on the outside and one support down the middle. So now you're going to be spanning a little under 10 feet since it's 20. But let's just say you're spanning 10 feet on both sides. Now you know you need to go through and be like, okay, if I want to span 10 feet and I'm framing 16 inches on center, I'm going to have to go with Owens Corning 2x12. So again, guys, very simple if you know what it is. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope this helps somebody, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Much love.